Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome to another Try Chapter video. This time we are doing paranormal romance books because it's October. Alrighty, sorry if there's a little bit of a lag, I had to go down and pick up some mail. So, if you've never seen one of my Try Chapter videos, I take 10 books from a particular category, either physical or my ebook categories, and I read the first chapter of them, give you my thoughts, and then maybe decide whether or not to read a book at the end of it. In today's video, we are going to be going with paranormal romance books and I'm really looking forward to it. I've also learnt my lesson. I've taken all the anthologies out of this folder. They are now in their own dedicated anthology folder because we know I'm not going to read one in a Try Chapter. Also, I'm repping Cutting Edge, aka Kate Daniels' private investigative business. I love that series so much. Something Kate Daniels will be read in the month of October. I can guarantee that. On the screen, I will have a little video scrolling through my unread paranormal romance folder on Kindle. I mean, some of them may not strictly be paranormal romances, but they're close enough that I'm including them in here. And there are 30 of them total. So we are going to choose 10 numbers generated by the order of this folder, decide on those books, and then we're going to read them. So the way this works, this is just a random number generator app. I'm going to tap 3 times for the first number, then get that number of book. So 1, 2, 3 is the number 7, which is Fire and Water by Alexis. Fun fact, this is technically on my TBR because this is also part of a series that I want to finish in October. So, I mean, that's good timing. Next number is 13, which is Dahlia Donovan's A Curse for Samhain. Next number is 28, which is Ghost Mortem by Regina Welling and Erin Lynn. Right, next is 20, which is Never Been Witched, which I think is Molly Harper. All right, 11 is One Heart by Chace Verity, which has been on so many TBRs, I just need to try this book. Next up is 22, is Bear in a Bakery by Liz Paffel. Paffel, yes, Liz Paffel. All right, next, number 1, which is The Red by Tiffany Reisz. 15, which is Wolf of Ash by Amelia Shaw. Number 4 is 6 by Carrie Thorne. I have a feeling I've tried the first chapter of this, but I can't remember. That's what happens when you do too many of these videos. All right, and lucky last is 2, which is Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger, which if you've seen my TBR video, you'll know is the potential Buzzwordathon book for one of the prompts in October. So I guess if I don't like this first chapter, this is going to give me a head start on knowing that I have to pick something different. So I suppose that's a good thing. All right, we have our 10 books. Now I'm going to read the first chapters of each of them. All right, so the first chapter of Fire and Water is, well, we're always in Kate's perspective. She is a private investigator. She is descended from a Fae mother. There's a lot of backstory into why Kate is the way she is. She's very gruff and surly and sarcastic. And we do have a prologue and a first chapter. So I read the prologue and the first chapter. The prologue was mostly a recap of the previous couple of books, which I appreciate. In a book like this book deserves a prologue. Unlike a contemporary romance that does not need a prologue. If you've seen my rant on that, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so we get the sort of the reminder and the refresh on where Kate is. At the start of the book, she's woken up by her vampire girlfriend, Julian, who is taking her to a wedding of a former ex-girlfriend of hers, which is an ongoing thing between the two of these characters. They go to the wedding is fine, and then when Kate gets back, she discovers that her assistant, who is a stone statue who has recently been animated, is taking notes for a case for the Merchant of Dreams to track down something that has been stolen from them. And that's where the chapter ends, with Kate accepting this case. I'm going to be reading this book in October. The one thing I really like about this particular series from Alexis, which may not necessarily work for everyone else, is the tone and the voice of the writing. Kate has a very distinctive style and I appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to continuing the series, and when I read this, I'll be caught up on everything that's currently out. On to the next book. All right, so the first chapter of A Curse for Samhain by Dahlia Donovan was really cute. We're in the perspective of Hyde, who is an autistic, non-binary vampire. And they own a bookstore and they have a little sign that helps people to understand whether it is a she or a they day, and also if they're in a talkative mood or if they're in a non-talkative mood, which I really kind of love that as a simple way of saying the community has embraced who they are and has helped them to find a way to communicate that effectively with everyone who they come in contact with, which I think is fantastic. And it's obviously going to be a relationship between Hyde and Teresa. So Teresa is introduced, she comes into the store at one point, and we find out that Hyde has a crush on Teresa. But like, it's just very cozy and kind of lovely. That was a good first chapter. I would read more, definitely. Oh, I didn't even finish the first chapter. We're about to go on another rant that I've been on many times in these videos. Why do first chapters begin books with someone finding their partner cheating on them and then they get fired from their job? Is there no other way to start a book? We're not doing that at all. Onwards. Alright, so the first chapter of Never Been Witched by Molly Harper is ridiculously long. We know how I feel about long first chapters. Anyway, we are in Alice's perspective. She runs an antique store for her grandparents, and on this particular morning, some new furniture has been dropped off. She opens one of the drawers of an armory that has been dropped off and is then met by the ghost of Arthur, who has been holding the drawers shut for a very long time. And he's a ghost. Then someone new to town, new to Starfall, comes in to buy a letter opener that he's seen. He and Alice strike up a conversation. His name is Colin, he's obviously going to be the love interest. And also some of her friends stop by because they've heard that she's having an animated conversation, aka with the ghost Arthur, who doesn't realise that the other witches of Starfall can see him. So yes, it's just kind of a setup for all of these characters, but it's really long. Like, this one could have been split into 2 chapters. This one was a review copy from NetGalley, so I will probably continue it. I may be able to get the audiobook for it, in which case I'll continue it that way. So in the first chapter of One Heart, we are in Vincent's perspective. Vincent uses he, they pronouns and is training a new bartender called Kit. And he's initially quite dismissive of Kit, who is 29 and this is his first real job and he's not really suited to being a bartender, but Kit is obviously there to start a new life, and so it's their first shift working together and then they walk home. Afterwards, we find out that Vincent wears this realistic heart pendant around his neck, and as Kit describes it, it's creepy but it's cool and he wants to know more about it. So that's kind of where the chapter ends off. It's Chace Verity, so I will always continue to read their book a little bit more than the first chapter, so that's something to consider a little bit later on. Chapter 1 of Bear in a Bakery by Liz Paffel is in Ali's perspective. She owns a bakery in a small town, that's a small paranormal town, but she's come in and basically something has happened. The shop is fallen apart. She's had a very rude customer come in and then all of the sprinkler systems go off. Yeah, just not feeling it. This one I will probably DNF. So I read the first chapter of The Red by Tiffany Reisz and I really enjoyed it. I've typically enjoyed Tiffany Reisz's writing before. And I know this doesn't technically fall necessarily under paranormal romance because it's more erotic fantasy with paranormal elements built into it, which we haven't hit yet, but I know that they're coming. So this is about Mona, who has inherited a gallery called The Red from her mother, and her mother's dying wish was that she save the gallery. That is a really difficult task for Mona because currently, at the start of the book, we discover that the gallery is severely in debt. And as she's leaving that night, she sees a man standing in her gallery and he tells her to look more closely at one of the paintings on the walls. And as she does, she realizes that it has been misattributed to the wrong artist. And obviously, I think that the next part of the book, the second chapter, that the painting that the artist that it actually belongs to is quite famous and is possibly going to save the gallery. I'm definitely intrigued. This has been on my TBR for a while. I've been meaning to read it. So it's staying. It's staying. The writing in this one was possibly the easiest first chapter to read in the entire video so far. So the first chapter of Wolf of Ash by Amelia Shaw, we have Dahlia, who is celebrating her bachelorette party before she gets married to her fated mate. And then we also have a chapter from Galen's perspective, and he is a member of a wolf pack and they're being attacked. It's interesting when chapters are split into two character perspectives, because there's usually some kind of overlap and you get the sense of how they're connected and why the stories are being told from both perspectives in the same chapter, and there was none of that, which means I just felt really disconnected and disjointed in the story. So I think I'm going to pass on this one. The first chapter of 6 by Carrie Thorne is from Ryan's perspective. He is a demon hunter based on a ship, like a Coast Guard ship, and he is good friends with the captain, who knows that he is a demon hunter and has spoken at length about sort of the things that are out there. And the captain believes him because she had an experience prior to meeting him that led her to believe that something else existed. And so he is kind of a paranormal defense against paranormal things out on the ocean. And this one night they happen to see this water spout that drops a woman into the middle of the ocean. Ryan goes in, pulls her out, and recognizes that she is, like him, a demon hunter, and she's currently unconscious at the end of the first chapter. I'm intrigued. I would probably give this one a couple more chapters just to see how it goes, which puts us at our last book for this tri-chapter video. Alrighty, I'm going to admit I didn't even get through the first chapter of this one. I couldn't. So we're following Sophronia, and it's just very dramatic and over the top, and I just couldn't with the chapter. Like I was skimming, and that's never a good sign for a book. So I think we're going to pass on this, which means I need to rethink my Buzzwordathon challenge. That's okay. I've got time. Good thing I read this now. Where are we at the end of the first chapters of 10 books? Fire and Water I'm keeping, but I will be reading throughout the month of October. Never Been Witched I'm going to audiobook. One Heart I'm going to give another chapter. The Red I will finish at some point. 6 I would like to give at least another 1 or 2 chapters to see how I go with it. But I think what I'm going to read for this video is A Curse for Samhain, because that just seemed really cozy and cute and I would like to read it. Alright lovelies, I have finished A Curse for Samhain by Dahlia Donovan. It's very much a cozy mystery with paranormal elements and a little bit of a romance in it. It's very short. I think it's about 140 pages or less. And we are following Hyde, who is our non-binary autistic vampire, and their relationship with Teresa, who runs the local taco bus next door to the bookstore that Hyde runs. And they get caught up in a mystery when a good friend and member of the local coven is found murdered in her cottage. The method of murder was poison, and Hyde is determined to figure out what is going on. We're introduced to a lot of the characters that live in this small little village, including Hyde's nemesis, the DCI, who is also the oldest vampire in Scotland and therefore, or in this area, and therefore responsible for all the other vampires in the village. But Hyde doesn't react the way that vampires would normally react in different circumstances, so they've had a bit of a rocky relationship. Basically, the story is Hyde and Teresa trying to figure out who killed their friend Florence, and they themselves are targeted along the way. There's a lot of stuff around grimoires and mishaps and things like that, as well as this sort of slow burning or slow developing relationship between Hyde and Teresa. It was very cute and a fun way to spend, 2 hours reading. That's another book ticked off the list. And I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon kind of updating all of my spreadsheets and my Kindle folders, making sure I've removed what I need to remove and whatnot. But otherwise, yeah, that's the end of this video. So if you have read this book or you're planning on picking it up, feel free to let me know down below. Otherwise, feel free to leave a cat emoji, because Hyde has 2 cats, Mortem and Paffel. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.